Okay, I think we will start just to be conscious of everyone's time. Today, we're going to talk why is customer experience important to companies. First, we're going to go through some introductions from our side of the house to let you know who is on this panel. So I'll start off. My name is Mike Cohorst. I'm a senior account executive at Crossvale. I have been in the industry for almost 30 years. I spent 20 years at a large real estate construction company as an IT director, implementing our ERP application. So I have relevant experience on doing and then also working for various technology companies. So that's a little bit of my background. Todd, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself from Crossvale?
Very good. Yeah, my name's Todd Millard. I'm Chief Growth Officer for Crossvale. Been with Crossvale for about 7 years. Really passionate about modernization, helping customers get more out of their organization from the business and IT side. I come to the organization with both a business degree and a computer engineering degree to help people understand both sides of the equation here. So happy to have you guys all here watching this webinar, and hopefully we can get you some information that will really help you guys with your business.
All right, and we are partnered today with Red Hat, and from Red Hat we have Rob and Ron. And so why don't you guys go ahead and quick introduce yourselves, and then we'll get in today's agenda.
Sure. Hello, my name is Rob Scott with Red Hat. I'm part of the North American sales organization, and my focus is on curating our assets around customer experience and customer experience solutions. I'm very excited for the opportunity to work with Crossvale in this space and look forward to the presentation.
Hey, and this is Ron Marhammer from Red Hat. I oversee our application development solution architects across North America, and work closely with Rob from a little bit more on the technical side and solution architecture side around our customer engagement hub offerings and solutions. And I've been at Red Hat for over 10 years.
All right, thank you. So today I have the agenda on the screen, and we want to keep this interactive. So if you have questions or comments, feel free to put those in the question and answer section, and we'll try to get those answered as soon as possible. So really what we want to discuss today is around the customer experience and why it's important for companies. We want to introduce who's Crossvale and what we've done in this space. So, and then we have a couple of examples of where we've done this customer experience for the financial industry and retail. I know that looking at the list, we have representation from the utilities, healthcare, industry, financial banking, and also manufacturing. So we'll keep this in mind, but just knowing that this customer experience applies across all those different verticals. So we're not, the examples we have, it may trigger something that you didn't think about. And really it's, you know, when we think about growing revenue and then coming out of today's world where everybody's remote and customers have a lot of choice and experience, or and so they want to have that good customer experience so that otherwise if they don't, they will easily shift. So that's really what the presentation is and how we can help companies get there. So with that, I will jump into who Crossvale is. Let's see here, and there we go. All right, so Crossvale is a company. We have 20 plus years of experience of implementing a full stack. We are a Red Hat Apex partner. We have companies, our headquarters is in the United States in Dallas, Texas. We also have offices in EMEA, in Ireland and Spain. So we're able to service our customers across a wide range of space. And we have expertise in consulting and taking customers down a modernization path. So I don't know, Todd, is there anything else that you want to cover on that aspect?
Yeah. I mean, over the year, we have a lot of expertise in the financial services space as well. And why that's important is because if we can secure some financial services applications and third-party products and infrastructure, we can do it for anybody. We do a lot of compliance related stuff where customers have high compliance requirements and they need to have more than just like maybe what a public cloud provider would provide for them. And so most of our work that we do is very customized to fit the customer's need. That's a little bit different than what is offered out there as just like SaaS solutions. So we can do everything from the infrastructure side all the way through the application development and DevOps in between, including the maintenance of anything that we build.
Yeah, just a note of that is being agile and nimble so that we're able to adapt to the customer's needs. Some of these large service organizations have trouble adapting and be able to pivot and change. And so we'll show at the end our approach that we take with our customers, and we'll kind of walk through that methodology and framework. That's another thing. Just, I think people, when they think of a, customer experience, is it a SKU, is a widget? No, it's a framework. And so we'll help customers walk through that. So with that, let's see here, let's go. Next one. Let's go here. Okay. We have been a Red Hat Apex partner. So that means we have certifications to meet a level of covering the full portfolio of Red Hat. And as with Red Hat, the open source technologies and being able to have lifecycle management. So you get the benefit of open source. And so things can get developed pretty rapidly compared to other off-the-shelf packages. And so with Red Hat providing the support lifecycle management, we're able to deliver the full stack of software. Last 4 years, we were the Apex Partner of the Year. So that's quite an honor. And I'll highlight on this last year, we were awarded stuff that we did around our financial banking software implementation. So. All right, I'll speed through this. We talked a little bit about this, but what we do, basically, we work with customers. We work with them to design their vision. We assess, we interview, and basically from that, we develop a roadmap. We do, as Todd touched upon, modernization assessments. And so that's just basically getting them to have a roadmap of where to go. A lot of companies struggle with trying to figure out how to get things implemented and across a hybrid cloud situation. So it's always important to have a roadmap. If you don't understand where you're going to go, it'll be very difficult to obtain. So that's part of the journey of these 4 pillars that we do. And once we give you the roadmap, we help enable you and build it. And one of the things we draw upon our experience, but we also want to educate your team so that after we leave, you're able to maintain it and build it as well, or continue to utilize it and develop new technologies across that. So this is a thought-provoking slide. Basically, why is customer experience important? Right now, as I talked about, basically it's improving the customer journey, and it's to differentiate your brand and grow revenue. So that's what companies are focusing on. And a lot of the times there are data within the company that is siloed, and therefore it's not being utilized. So that when you start to focus on how you're going to grow your business through taking that real-time data and presenting it to, like for instance, we'll go through our banking example and how we were able to take some of the data that they had internally on their customers to improve the relationships and present the correct offering for a banking customer. So, and customers demand that they have a good customer experience. I know that you look across, the Amazon experience, you look at, if the reviews, they're important. So if you don't have that, somebody else will provide it and customers will migrate. And it's a highly competitive market right now. So this is why companies are focusing on this whole customer experience. Either Rob or Ron or Todd, any additional comments on this?
I mean, right now is the biggest migration of customers to other businesses due to what's happened in the pandemic, because we're seeing customers break their habits, and a lot of customers had habits of working with certain companies, and now the organizations that are investing in modernization, because customer experience touches every part of your organization, not just IT, not just sales or account management, it's everywhere. And so those organizations that are making those investments now to improve those experiences are the ones that are getting the lion's share of the new, of the movement of those customers. And that's why this is so important today. But people are finding out they can't do it without the IT systems backing them up, because that gives them the speed, the agility to make things happen. That's why it's super important today with these platforms. And I think Rob has something that he wants to add here. He looks like he's ready to jump in. So go ahead, Rob.
Well, simply just to echo what both Mike and Todd have covered, we really view this as a critical area of investment for customers in the world post-COVID. So what we're basically talking about is solving for a significant data aggregation issue and being able to solve for it with speed and agility to develop purpose-built applications to achieve specific business outcomes that drive customer experience, that modernize customer experience. And the exciting part about this story, as was mentioned as well, was regardless of what industry, regardless of what size of your organization, and we believe we have a very compelling opportunity to dig into your specific business and explore partnership opportunities to achieve specific outcomes. It's all about driving outcomes, offers at the right time. Ron, anything else to add?
I mean, the thing I would add is I think over the past year with COVID, things have just changed a lot. Everything is pushing more digital, everything is being pushed more remote. And so all of our customers, really regardless of industry, have more choice now. It used to be I went to this store or this bank because it was right down the road. Now everyone does so many things online, either through a mobile app, through a website, that I now have a lot more choices as a customer. And so being able to differentiate your experience, making sure your end-to-end experience is favorable for your customer and pleasant, and making sure you have the infrastructure, the technology, the services behind that is really, really important, and kind of meeting the customer where they're at and not expecting the customer to come to you.
Well said. Yeah, and just to reiterate on the comment about why we're partnered with Red Hat, because of the open source solutions, as you know, they evolve faster, and then also to have that support and lifecycle management around that. That's really the power of it. This isn't it isn't a SKU that we sell, it's a methodology framework. And so, but having those open source tools to provide a solution is really what makes this offering work. Let's see. All right, these are some general questions, just, across industries. And again, this can, vary. Like I said, we had retail and banking examples, but this is what, revenue growth, right? When you think about that, how are companies executing their go-to-market plans to increase revenue streams? Well, it's to retain and grow your customer base, right? So what is the strategy that companies are using to do that? And, is it taking some of their internal data and, combining it with external so that they're developing solutions that meet, just-in-time type scenarios? So not only is there, there's also the operating margin piece of it. How are they, take measurements of their current marketing and sales channels to increase sales? I mean, are they meeting their KPIs and that? And so there are also some improvements with customer efficiencies on their internal customers as well. And we have an example of that, how we were able to work with a financial institution around an old legacy app, modernizing it so that it vastly improved their internal processes, excuse me. So any other thoughts or comments? I mean, these are just supposed to be kind of thought-provoking questions, you know, different areas that companies are looking to gain efficiencies so that they can meet their customer experience in a better manner.
Yeah, and what we have found over the years of working with clients on improving customer experiences is, where do you start? Like the customers, most of our clients are all trying to do some sort of modernization or have some projects that they have some tactical goal. And the issue really comes down to is these tactical goals don't necessarily line up very well once you start implementing a bunch of tactical goals, and it ends up becoming like this spaghetti of a problem out there, and you start building technical debt. And this is where like a customer engagement hub type solution that looks at this from a more holistic view of the whole organization. We bring in the consultants, we bring in the experts on the platforms to say, you know, what have you already done? Where have you been? And let's take a look at the spots where you're going to get the most bang for your buck to start with, so that you can then have a roadmap that's going to get you return on investment as you build more customer engagement solutions. And this is the biggest problem that we've seen with people that try to do it themselves, because they have to keep the lights on and they are doing their day jobs to try to do all that stuff, and then try to take a look at this. When finding an organization like Crossvale and Red Hat that has done this before, we can come in and take a look at this and say, hey, here's the areas that you guys are trying to move towards, but this is some of the things that you need to do prior to implementing those solutions to be able to get the most bang for your buck. And that's where we've seen the biggest value in customers that have tried to do it themselves, and then bringing in people like us to help them. Rob?
No, that's perfect, Todd. Nothing else to add on that point.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'll jump in a little bit. I think one of the interesting parts, and I think the previous slide actually talked to it a little bit, is often we think about like customer acquisition, the very forward, like loyalty programs, things that are very, very customer centric, very customer forward first. But oftentimes the journey is more than that. It's how does the customer get there? How is the products making sure they, I think we got some background noise. If anyone can mute their mic, thanks. But also thinking about the back end processes that get us there. So things like inventory management. How do we make sure in this day and age that we're moving the products to the right place? You know, I think retail is a good example where most stores, brick and mortar, are almost becoming mini warehouses. And so how do we make sure we include that into how we're managing our inventory, getting it to the right place, and then having the delivery infrastructure out there to get the product to the customer? And so I think those are some of the things to think about, the end-to-end customer journey, and making sure, I think to Todd's point, you're not just creating all these tactical solutions, but you're thinking about the whole picture and bringing it all together.
Thank you. Okay. So this is a financial example that we've done, and this is around providing this customer 360. And so it's taking the information that a financial institution had internal and provide that to the tellers, bankers, so that they have the information on the customer at the appropriate time. We also did some call center improvements so that when customers are calling in, they have it pulls up their account information so that they can advise the customer just in time type scenario. So what this really did is it provided a better customer experience for the individuals, and the bank also saw an improvement with the amount of, if there was a collections piece or how they were handling their customers. I don't know, Todd, I know you were.
Let me give you an example of, there's a couple things on this one. Number one, we replaced a platform that they had in there prior that saved them $400,000 a year in support and maintenance. We also got rid of 17 other systems and collated it into one system. So now all of their customer service reps, regardless of what department they were in, had to be trained on one system. And you can now move them through different departments, and their training now went way down, and it saved thousands and thousands of hours on customer service on training, and got people up to speed much faster. But here's an example. You got a problem with your mortgage. So the night before, you called in and made a complaint about something on your mortgage. Maybe your escrow amount is not getting credited properly or something. Then the next day you walk into a branch and say, hey, I have this problem with my mortgage. What they used to have to do was pick up the phone and call the exact same number that you called the night before, and then talk to somebody over in that department to try to figure out what was going on. Once this new system was implemented, that person at the branch had access to what your complaint was, what you had said the night before, and also had access to the workflow of where it was, who was working on it, to be able to then create a better customer service to let them know this is what we're doing, this is where we're at. Huge difference. Another thing was on this, used to take like 35 minutes to open a new account. So someone would walk in to open a new account into a branch. And so we went and tied a bunch of systems together on how that new account opening was, and now was able to not only open a new account in about 7 minutes, which now gave the bankers an ability to talk to them in a lot more detail about other things, but also at the same time checked across multiple other types of products that they were able to get approved for, and then say, not only can we open a checking account for you, but I can get the savings, this money market, and open 3 or 4 accounts at the same time in the same amount of time. So it was just check this box, ask a few other questions. Huge difference on the customer experience. Instead of then saying, oh, you want to open a money market? Now we have to go and, spend another 30 minutes opening that next account. So, I mean, these types of things, by getting that data in a place where you could use it much better, made gigantic difference in this organization.
Thanks, Todd. I think the next one as well is a financial example where we took a old enterprise service bus, where it was batching up overnight. So what we did is we went in and worked with the team. We analyzed what they had and where they needed to go, and break it up into microservice and do agile development. And what that entailed basically is the outcome was that it was real time. So from that, we saved 38% on gains by changing from this old batch model to having it real time, and that helped the bank again with providing better information to their customers. If they didn't have to wait overnight for it to run, they could look online right there and pull up the current information because it was real time. So.
And this saved lots of time internal, because now instead of doing credit memos and stuff on each day into these accounts, they have now moved to real time, and this lowers the risk for the bank as well, and also provides a better experience for the customer when there's less confusion on whether a credit memo got processed properly, or if there was some sort of issue that had an IT system go down, and then people are having to manually go in and key in stuff into the back end. So by moving from batch to real time, not only is it from a standpoint where the customer is getting better service, but also the internal employees have less risk and less work to do, so they can focus on higher activities. And that's the key: is how do we get your high cost employees working on higher activities that can provide more business value, instead of doing mundane tasks and reworking things that should have all been taken care of by the system.
All right, so this next one is a retail example, and basically this customer had a manual process where a client would have to come into the store, and they would do a work with them to meet with a representative and manually look at different options. So we worked with them to do a online order processing, and basically with this, it took their time to receive the order from 4 weeks down to 5 days, thus leading to higher retention of customers, increased revenue because customers were now getting this in 5 days instead of 4 weeks. So this is an example of, again, taking a process that was difficult to do because there was a lot of manual entry and it wasn't very interactive. So we're able to streamline this, and from that, as you see, from 4 to 5 days, that's quite a bit of time saved.
Yeah, this also gives you real time if things change in your supply and suppliers, that you can make changes in real time to the customers that are actually making an order, because this is tied back to the back end suppliers, and that's how we were able to improve the amount of time that it took to get the order complete, because the IT systems tied into the suppliers that were actually creating these custom products. The other thing is, like, this retailer had a plan to then roll this out online also, so that you could actually not have to come into the store. That got met with COVID and got put on hold for a little bit while they were waiting on kind of getting some things straightened out in what was going on in the industry. But that's the next step, is it's enabled them to be able to, go so that I don't actually have to have a customer walk into the store.
So before I'm going to talk about our process, I just have one other comment. So when I was working for a large commercial real estate construction company, and we were implementing a large ERP system, one of the things that the owner stated was, we're not an IT company. Well, today every company is an IT company. And it was in the sense of our architectures or our design group presenting 3D and 4D designs to our clients. And what that did was, basically, when you're buying $100 million building, I mean, they were able to see it and visualize it, also take out clash detections and reduce costs. So that's just an example of having, the data to be able to present that in a way that visually a customer can see it. And it provided a much better experience than the old days where they would draft it on paper, and it's much different. So that was just one that personally that I was involved in, and I thought that was very interesting, how that the industry hasn't changed much over time, the construction industry, except in the areas of utilizing visual design and graphics, computer-aided graphics. So that's one that I drew upon. I don't know, Ron or Rob, do you have other examples from other industries that, with Red Hat and what you've been seeing?
Well, I'd like to potentially highlight the fact that, this is not just end user customer experience. We touched base on that earlier. This is also supplier experiences as well. So as an example, if you think about the opportunity to rationalize various bids that you take in from various suppliers with respect to how you can bring your products to market, that's another opportunity to leverage the intelligence around these applications that we're talking about to really hone in on the right bid at the right price to support your business model. It's really an interesting opportunity to think really from both a supply chain perspective and a frontline customer experience perspective to really drive value and velocity in your modernization approach. So I just wanted to throw that out there on the table to add to the story. Ron, anything else to add?
Yeah, I'll touch on a little bit. I think another big aspect as we see some of these transformations across customers is looking at how you use the data. So I think we just walked through a case where they modernized the process, and now, what used to take a month only takes a few days, and moving towards more digital. A lot of times now you're capturing more data, and it's more real time. So being able to use that data, then look at patterns in your customers, look at what's successful, being able to get something to market, being able to see quickly, is what I'm doing successful? Should I double down on it? Should I change course? A lot of that is really, really important. And I think another vertical we haven't touched much on that we still see a lot of different customer engagement, customer experience going on, and a lot of evolution is healthcare. In healthcare, a lot of things are driving towards personalization, proactiveness. And so how can everything from your insurance company to your actual doctor, how do they all work together, and how do they make it so we drive more personalization for each individual patient and customer? And how do we make sure we're trying to do it as proactively as possible? As there's pretty much tons of data and studies that have shown if you can go and do proactive healthcare and encourage people to get healthy and go get tests and go do things ahead of time before they have a big problem and end up in, say, the emergency room, it saves not only that customer and that patient a lot of stress, but it also saves our healthcare system as a whole, everything from your payer to your provider, a lot of money as well. And so that's a lot of where that industry is moving, and trying to figure out how to bring that together is really, really important.
That's a really good points, and I just experienced that as well. Just you know, the healthcare being proactive and, you know, receiving an alert, you know, saying, hey, you can, you know, save money on your costs if you, you know, do some of these proactive, you take a screening, you know. And so it's a way for companies to reach out, but also reduce the, you know, the costs for their providers if they, you know, like, can recognize it early on. So that's a really good example in the healthcare space.
Well, if we take a look at our process, Mike, let me run through this one here, because this is really, you know, we talked a lot about customer engagement, you know, how do we improve those, you know, about modernization, IT systems, linking with your partners, you know, all these different things. But how do you get from where you're at today to where you need to be? And this is, you know, our process that we've developed over the years to do this is, first, you know, these quotes are really, really good at what we've seen in the marketplace. Like, if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up someplace else. Many, you know, that's the tactical projects that we see where people are not really trying to understanding where they want to go. So it really comes down to understanding what your big vision is. And this is something where the business really needs to have that grand idea of where they want to see themselves. We call this our modernization journey when it comes to like customer improvement, because it's a journey. It doesn't end. There's no end point. You're on a journey that you are going to continually be refining. You have to understand where you want to go, where the direction that you're going, but you're never going to actually get to there, because IT is going to change, business is going to change. You need to build in agility so you can shift that vision and have the IT systems that are and your culture and processes there to be able to shift as things change in the marketplace and in IT. So this means we have to understand what your baseline is. What is your current situation? Everybody is a snowflake. Everybody has made many different business decisions and bought different technology and have different visions and different ideas of what's their unique thing they do in the market. So we have to clearly understand what your baseline is so that we know how to build a proper capabilities roadmap. We look at modernization as a set of different capabilities that you should be implementing in your business, but it comes down to some capabilities for your business is going to be greater ROI than somebody else's business. And we need to come in, understand the baseline, understand how to educate you on the different capabilities roadmap so that you go, yes, that's going to get me where I need to go on this journey next, because I want to have that ROI. Then when we move into enable and build, acquiring wisdom is great, but it's not the goal. Applying it is. This is the analysis paralysis phase that we see many customers get into. They get their team, they say, we want to go do something, assign some people to go do it. They run around and analyze every single different platform and all these different things and try to find, experiment, POCs, all this stuff. And by the time they come up with a process and a solution, IT's changed, the business has changed. They got to scrap all that and start over. It's not about acquiring the wisdom, it's about applying it. And today's marketplace moves so fast, not only in business and the changes in business, but also the changes in IT. Like, you have to be able to get out there and leverage people that have done this before that can help you get quick returns. So this is about taking a look at your project backlog. Like, what are your applications? What are you trying to accomplish with the upcoming projects that you have that are going to make a difference in your business? And how do we apply our frameworks and accelerators to get you there so you can create those customer improvements? And then also, how do you shift your culture to an automation and API first mindset? So you have to, if this is about culture as much as it is about IT, if we just implement your IT platforms and we don't focus on the culture in your business and the culture in your IT organization, then you're going to struggle getting that modernization to get what you really need out of it. You got to do both at the same time. And then maintain and grow. Maintenance and security, the number one thing that we see that holds companies back from actually making changes is the operations team saying, I don't know that, I don't want to take responsibility for that, so I'm going to slow everything down till I know this really, really well. We have a maintenance team behind everything that we build that we can come in and maintain it for you for a short period of time, a medium period of time, a long period of time, whatever works for you until you guys get your team where it needs to be. So you don't have to be fearful of if something falls flat on its face, if a production system goes down, that you don't know how to fix it. We have a team that's there to stand that up, make sure that you're not going to have that problem, and actually do proactive maintenance on that. So it's about, how do you build all that stuff? How do you understand where you're going? How do you get it built in a way that you're not in analysis paralysis? And then how do you make sure that it's maintained in a way that you don't have to worry that if something goes wrong, you're stuck holding the bag? And that's what we bring to the table. And why we use Red Hat platforms is they're awesome. The things that Red Hat brings to the table and their open source model is phenomenal. The innovation that they do is so great. You can see that in the OpenShift container platform. That's so far ahead of the rest of the stuff out there in the market. What they've done with RHEL and everything over the years, it is an amazing set of platforms. You can't go wrong with that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that every single platform is a Red Hat solution. There is a best of breed solution that you have to sit here and take a look at, that there's some things that might be non-Red Hat. But when you take a look at what the majority of the things are that you're going to bring to the table, it's going to be the Red Hat platforms, because they have such a great reputation and the teams behind it do such a great job. And that's why we use Red Hat for many of our solutions. Rob or Ron, you guys want to?
I'll simply add that as within Red Hat, as we continue to innovate around our products and around our solutions, Crossvale is the beneficiary of that as well. So our best flows through Crossvale out to you. And that really is, one of the foundations of our partnership and why we're so excited about this joint opportunity together.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll add is, from a more of a technology side of things and kind of where things are evolving and moving, a lot of different companies are looking to consume either like a cloud service or what you would call a managed service, and are looking to get less, do less of their own infrastructure management, and try to push out and look to have their different vendors actually offer these different application services. And so that's something that Red Hat is also investing in, moving towards having hosted options, managed offerings. And so that's something that can really help accelerate as you look to take on different projects from a technology standpoint. It often would take days or weeks to install a new platform, get all that configured, make sure you have all the right ports open. And nowadays, the managed and hosted offerings can help accelerate that timeline to make sure you kind of are able to get your minimum viable product or see that business value faster.
Just going back to what Todd said about culture and process. I mean, change is difficult. And so where we see, success in this is when you have support from the top down. So if you have the backing from the executives of why this is important to go after, that's going to help with the success of the project. the other thing is along those same lines of what Ron was just talking about is, when we see companies start to do it themselves, and a lot of companies have a lot of bright people and can do it. And then they realize that, hey, is this the best use of our time? Like, should we really be, patching and all this? Where they get their biggest bang is when they're developing applications and releasing them. So around that point, from a managed service, SaaS type solution, we're seeing companies as they deploy into the cloud in different environments, wanting to have that approach. And so that they're leveraging their staff in a way that they're, before it was like 70% maintenance and 30% innovation. They want to flip that. So it's the opposite. So it's 70% innovation and 30% maintenance. So maybe there's a blend of how you consume these products, and is it through a managed service? It could be, but there are different methodologies, and especially today with the workforce the way it is, it's very hard to attract new talented people and retain them. So just keep in mind that, we have the breadth and tech solution architects to be able to help augment various companies in their journey, and we would, cherish an opportunity to have additional conversations with you guys. I'm trying to think what, yeah, so we have a practice and methodology. We have our website. We have a link here. I will send out this presentation afterwards so that you guys have a copy of it. But this is, we have on our website a whole portion dedicated to customer engagement hub and why that would be important. And so there's additional information on that. There's some IDC studies around that. There's some Forrester studies, why companies are focusing on this. We're more than happy to have additional conversations of how we can help you guys on the journey. I don't know, Todd or anybody else, is there anything else? I mean, that's all we had in the presentation. I don't know if there's any questions or comments.
Anybody in the audience have any questions that based off what they've seen that either you could ask question through the Q&A here, or if you want to reach out through email or call us, we can take a private question as well. All right, I guess back to you, Mike.
All right, well, again, I want to thank everyone for their time. I know it's precious with all the things and opportunities you have at work. So to take time on your day to meet with us, and I appreciate our partner Red Hat joining us to discuss this very important topic, and look forward to our continued partnership, and hopefully having additional conversations with everyone that is in attendance today.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks everyone.